Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show, taking you up until 2 a.m. here on 90.7 FM, Facebook, and YouTube. Very, very pleased to welcome in our next guest. He is a 19-year Major League Baseball veteran, played for the Pirates, Reds, A's, Brewers, Angels, and Blue Jays in his career, and he is the author of a new book called Cobra, A Life of Baseball and Brotherhood, along with Dave Jordan. The Cobra himself, Dave Parker, joins us on One on One. Dave, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for being here. And I guess, start with kind of the basic question whenever somebody writes a book is, what exactly inspired you to write this book, come out with this now at this point in your life?
Well, there was so many people that's not written stuff about me over the years that didn't portray me in the right light. So I wanted to write a book, and it took me like 20 years to really get it off the ground. And it took me 2 years to finalize it. So I just wanted to shed some light on who Dave Parker is and what Dave Parker's about.
Great to hear. I certainly enjoyed the book and the perspective that we got from it. I have to wonder, going back to just when you spoke about your time in high school and your transition to college, what was it like in terms of being yourself, being confident in your capability as an athlete, and just hoping to make it to the major leagues? What was that period like in which you just had to kind of believe in yourself as you awaited?
They came from my parents. My mother and father always emphasized to me that I could be anything I wanted to be if I put my mind to it. So they impressed me with telling me that, and I tried to live up to it. I was always competitive, and I knew that I was going to be great in sports. I remember telling two of my friends that we was walking to school. We were about 2 miles from school, and I told one guy that I was going to be a baseball player, and my friend Tim wanted to be a quarterback. And I said, well, I'm going to end up being the first $1 million paid player. I told him this in 11th grade. And when I did it in 78, they drove to Pittsburgh, and they just sit up and stared at me for about 10 minutes because I told them this in 11th grade. But I always believed that I had the ability to do and be anything I wanted to be.
Talking with Dave Parker, former MLB great, here on One. Dave, you talked a little bit about your MLB career, and I think a lot of people, when they think of you as a baseball player, they think of those Pirates teams in the late 70s that you were just referencing, specifically 1979. What did being on that team in 79, with you, Willie Stargell, all the great players on that team, what did that mean to you in your career and your life?
Well, it was good to have those guys as a part of the team because they took me on the wing. They taught me how to be a major leaguer. Stargell especially. Doc Ellis was one of the top pitchers in Major League Baseball at the time. We had Al Oliver, one of the tremendous line drive hitters. We just had a team of stars and guys with personality and charisma. We were probably America's team. Dallas is always throwing that out there, but I think the Pirates was America's team at the time.
Great to hear, and just I can't imagine what that might feel like to be part of such a loved team. In regards to your $1 million per year contract, which you brought up as indeed being baseball's first $1 million per year contract, we know nowadays that players receive large deals, and obviously fans and media have their opinions. However, I read that the response to that deal from a certain sect of fans was quite unfriendly. Would you feel comfortable getting into that reaction from those fans and how that made you feel?
Well, had Pittsburgh. I was in Pittsburgh during the time I signed the contract, and it was during a period in Pittsburgh where they were down on their inner streets, which was coal and steel, and they were struggling for money at the time for the city, and they just couldn't identify to a guy making $1 million a year for playing baseball. And I ran into some problems with my fans after signing the contract because of the fact that Pittsburgh was struggling with the two major industries, and they couldn't deal with the fact that I was getting that $1 million+ a year.
Dave, you talked in the book extensively right from the outset about your relationship with Pete Rose, one of the great players of all time. And you talked about how much that meant to you. But what did that relationship, mean in your life as you went along in your playing career, talking about a guy who had obviously accomplished so much in the game and is the all-time hits leader in Major League Baseball?
Well, it was a thrill to play with Pete, and it was a thrill to play against him, and a larger thrill to play with him, because Pete played the game the way it should be played. And that's at 100%. He earned that title of Charlie Hustle because that's what he did. I mean, walking to the plate was like running because he played the game that way. And you got to respect that. And I respected him and still respect him. And I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Great perspective. I wanted to get into next, just, after reading Cobra and hearing, just that history, the time in which you wrote about just social issues were as pertinent, as they always are in society, and the struggles of being a Black athlete at the time were just very apparent. Obviously, it's much different nowadays in regards to any league, and player empowerment is a great movement that's being advanced year after year in various sports. Did you feel at the time that the struggles socially really affected your stance as a player on just like how you felt in the league? Did you feel that there really was a sense from team leaders, the brain trusts, presidents, general managers, of just an unfairness, or did you feel that the talent was what really spoke to those managers?
Well, I think it was a little racial bias involved. Every 25th man, the last guy on the roster was always white. You never did give that brother that break to be the 25th man. General managers were all white, no Black general managers. Frank Robinson was the first Black manager in Cleveland. He had to be a player manager. So there was a whole lot of things that indicated that race was an issue in major sports.
Dave, switching gears just slightly here. At the end of the book, in the epilogue, you talked briefly about the game of baseball today, which is obviously different than when you played. And you said that it's no worse, it's no better, it's different. But we see a game today where there's more strikeouts, there are fewer balls in play. What do you think can be improved about the way baseball is played today as you watch this game that you played so well for so many years?
Well, it's a different game. They don't move the runner. They don't hit behind the runner. They don't double steal. They don't do none of the things to produce runs. They swing for the home run. If they don't get it, they punch out. Guys have got 125, 140 strikeouts. There's got to be some guys on base in scoring position when they come to the plate. and they're not maximizing the game. They're not playing small ball, and they're not fundamentally sound. They throw to the wrong base. It's just a different animal. And I'm a strong believer of get whatever the market can bear. So make the money, but don't cheat the product.
Dave, great perspective again. Thank you. I wanted to ask about your time as a coach. So on not on the player side, but on the coaching staff. Just how did you feel your experience as a player helped you, of course, as a coach, and also kind of in regards to Jimmy's question about, the different eras and how the game has evolved over time. How did you see, were there any difficulties in terms of coaching players, playing in a newer era of the game? Did you see certain things translate or not translate?
I saw guys challenge me. I'm outfield working with outfielders, and guys challenged me. And Jim Edmonds, I remember telling me one time, how did it feel to have the best young outfield in baseball? I said, I read that when I first came here. I said, but everybody out here don't want a batting title, raise their hand. I was the only one raised my hand. I said, everybody out here don't want MVP, raise your hand. I was the only guy raised my hand. And I said, every guy here that win the World Series, raise your hand. And after doing that about 4 times, Jim Evans said, we get the pitchers, shut up. But they still challenged me. And I was a proven player. And you're never too experienced or never too old or too young to learn. And they got to learn.
Dave, before we let you go, you've been candid over the last few years about your battle with Parkinson's disease and how that's affected you and what people can do to help. And you've been very active with the Dave Parker 39 Foundation, which helps people fight Parkinson's. I'm curious, could you just tell us a little bit more about that? Can you tell our audience a little bit more about that so they know how they can help out with the Dave Parker Foundation?
Well, right now we're doing a lot of fundraisers and events, and you can send or purchase books to Dave Parker 39 Foundation, Amazon, Walmart, Barnes and Noble. You can purchase from those locations, and any purchase of a book would be deeply appreciated. And enjoy dealing with you guys. If you need me, don't hesitate to call.
He's Dave Parker, author of Cobra, A Life of Baseball and Brotherhood, MLB Great. Dave, thank you so much for the time today. We really appreciate it. It was a real honor.
No problem. Good interview.